So today we are going to be finding out whether the queen bee is actually worth it or not. So the queen bee actually has a little bit of a competitor, and it's called the wasp. So the wasp and the queen bee both have like about the same ability, and they do pretty much the same thing, except they both aren't like the same entirely. So they both have the same abilities, but everything else about them is pretty much different. Like their cooldowns are different, how you get them is different. And yeah, let's just see if the queen bee is actually worth getting, because this happens to be the rarest pet from the bee egg, while the wasp is actually the easiest pet from the anti-bee egg. So there's like a one big difference right there. The wasp is the easiest pet to get, while the queen bee is the hardest pet to get. But the thing is, there's a little more into it from that. The bee egg also is much easier to get than the anti-bee egg. You literally have to craft the anti-bee egg with using a bee egg to get it. So the queen bee is a little easier for getting eggs, but to get the queen bee, that's the rarest thing in the egg. So it's really hard to get. So if we're just giving it a point based off rarity, then I'm gonna give a point to the wasp, because the wasp, even though it's hard to get an anti-bee egg, it's way easier to get a wasp or a tarantula hawk, which is basically the better wasp, from an anti-bee egg than it is to get a queen bee from a bee egg. All right, so yeah, the wasp is pretty much better in rarity, but let's see what else the wasp is better at, or if the queen bee is really good. Okay, so I'm just gonna place them down right here, and let's look at their abilities. So the queen bee right here has two abilities. It can pollinate things, and it can fully refresh a cooldown for a pet. The wasp, on the other hand, also does pollination, but the thing is, for its refresh thing, it doesn't fully refresh a pet. All it does is decrease the cooldown. Sorry, it decreases the cooldown for a pet, and it doesn't fully reset, which is very different than the queen bee. And it does one other thing. The wasp does a random pet, while recently I think they changed it to where the queen bee does a highest pet. So basically, the pet with the longest cooldown, for example, my chicken zombie right here, he usually has the longest cooldown. The queen bee will target pets like this, while the wasp will not target pets like that. So this could lead the queen bee to doing like not doing effective things. Like this is only if you have pets like the chicken zombie, which aren't super effective. But if you don't have pets like the chicken zombie, then you'll be fine pretty much. But yeah, so this could lead the queen bee to being a little less effective. But in general, I'm pretty sure the queen bee is going to be better because it fully resets a cooldown. So on abilities, I think I'm gonna have to give a point to the queen bee, because the queen bee fully resets a cooldown while the wasp only does a little bit. All right, so the next thing I'm gonna go over is the cooldowns. So both of these pets, as you can see, have cooldowns right here, and the queen bee actually has like a much longer cooldown. Okay, so for the pollination, compared to the wasp, it's actually like a little shorter. I don't know why, but yeah, it's a little shorter, and it just pollinates things a little faster basically. But then for its full refresh ability, it's actually much longer. So right here you can see that it's like much longer, and I'm pretty sure the wasp is 10 minutes. So we can see right here it's 10 minutes, while this is double the time. But the thing is, the wasp also only does this by 60 seconds, while the queen bee over here does it by the full thing. So on cooldowns, the wasp technically is much better cooldowns. And if we go look at the tarantula hawk right here, the tarantula hawk is like way better. So yeah, it's even better on cooldowns. So I think I'm gonna have to give the point to the wasp on cooldowns, because in general, the wasp just is gonna have better cooldown, or the tarantula hawk if you're using it, because it's just basically the better wasp. Okay, so the next thing I'm gonna go over is effectiveness. So even though both these pets have abilities that are slightly different and slightly different cooldowns, what really can matter is how effective they are, because if they aren't effective, then it doesn't matter. So okay, we have the queen bee, which does this, as we already said, goes a little slower, but the thing is, it fully resets a cooldown, which can be really helpful. But if you get it on something like the chicken zombie, then it's not going to be super helpful. But if you only have things like dragonflies, this can be really helpful, as dragonflies usually have 5-minute cooldowns, and they basically just make things go, which is very helpful. So the queen bee is very effective if you're using good kinds of pets. But if you aren't using the best kind of pets, like the good kind of pets for this, then the queen bee is not going to be the best, because it can get distracted by things like the chicken zombie because of this right here. The pet with the highest cooldown gets its ability refresh. Okay, so the wasp right here though, it actually targets any pet. It does not target one pet. It just goes for any pet possible, but it does it slightly slower. But again, the tarantula hawk is faster. But the thing is, most pets have around a 60-second cooldown. So for example, right here, we got my kiwi. This is about a 60-second cooldown, I'm pretty sure. Yeah, look right here, 60-second cooldown. And then if we also look at my dog, 60-second cooldown. So both of them have 60-second cooldowns, and that's about the average, I would say, for pets. So the wasp pretty much fully resets a pet even faster than queen bee. So in general, the wasp might be more effective than the queen bee, but this could be either way. It's just really how you see it. I personally think that the queen bee is just going to be slightly better because it fully resets cooldowns, and if you have things like the chicken zombie, which I do use, then the queen bee will be more effective. But if you're not using things like like with longer cooldowns, you only use things with shorter cooldowns, and the Wasp will probably be better for you, but it could be either way. So yeah, it's just pretty much how you see it. And the last thing I'm just gonna go over is just for a little fun, but just basically the look. So we can just pick both of these up right here and we can clearly see which one's better. Queen bee is definitely gonna win because one, it's just bigger in general, so just it looks more flashy, and it has like the crown and stuff, so I just think it looks better. The Wasp definitely looks good though. It's definitely better models than, like, for example, whatever this is right here. Yeah, let's just ignore that. But yeah, the Wasp and the Queen Bee both do have cool models, but I would say the Queen Bee is just going to be the better looking in general. But yeah, either pet could be really good. It's just personally what you think. This is what I think. I think the Queen Bee is definitely good, but it's probably not worth it because of the Wasp being so much easier to get. But if you can try getting the Queen Bee, go at it, no problem. You might waste a couple eggs, you might get lucky though. So if you think you can get the Queen Bee, then it's worth it getting the Queen Bee. But if you don't think you can get the Queen Bee, then just go with the Wasp. There's no problem with that. The Wasp will just not work as well on pets like the chicken zombie. But yeah, if you're using the Wasp, do not use the chicken zombie. You will be wasting the Wasp's ability on the chicken zombie. And yeah, that's about it. You can use either pet you want. This is just my opinion, really. And this is gonna end my video. Bye.
Hold me close till I get out.